Good morning, folks. Dr. Martin says you should plant a garden. And of course we have a garden, but this is just an extension of it. And maybe you're in a place where you can't plant a garden, but I think if you were to just go onto Cousin Google, you can find a lot of videos on how to grow sprouts in a bottle in a very confined space. So there's always ways that you can grow some nutritious food for yourself. And the way things are going, it's probably a good idea. And it's been and we spoke about this yesterday, it's really a crazy day. And I watched a short interview with Desmond Cole, a Canadian author and activist, and suggesting that we should unarm and defund police and give the money to communities. Now, doesn't that all sounds really cool? You see, right now everybody is talking about racism. We're past the climate change with the 16-year-old kid who was the expert in the world on climate change, where professors and politicians and pastors and mothers and children were following this young lady, claiming that she knew everything. And well, that's gone now. We don't have people coming in worrying about plastic straws. I guess maybe the virus sort of stepped in, and now that's gone. And we're into racism. Everywhere, every station I click on the radio, everywhere I go, there's somebody is an expert on racism. And some of these people are intellectual lightweights. And granted, some of them are intellectual heavyweights. But I'm thinking about the fellow in Toronto who says we should take the ammunition and guns away from police, take away their funding and give it to communities. And I would like to sit down and talk with that man without anybody around, just to see how he comes to those thoughts. Because I think right now in the States, in particular in the United States and some cities, and I know all the bleeding hearts and the liberals and the Democrats are sort of saying, well, no, Trump is doing it all wrong. We shouldn't. And I'm not a Trump fan of either one right now, because it's also, when I look at it, it's garbage. But you cannot have a serious discussion on to prove anything if you don't have law and order. If you want to, which one of those looters who are beating a person with a 2x4 and ladders, breaking into a jewelry store, which one of those thugs would you like to have as your leader? The person who doesn't give a damn about justice or anything. The black person beating up a Chinese person as in robbing the store. Is that racism? You could say so. Would it matter if that store was white, black, pink, or purple? The thug would still be there. That's the point. There's nothing about racism there. It's about violence. It's about somebody who doesn't have the brass or the character to go and build something for themselves, tear down everything else. And of course there's more to it than that. People talk about systemic racism. And I think, you know, for most people that I know, if you're a cool, nice, good person, you don't have to agree with everything everybody else says, because everybody doesn't do that. But if you're a character person, it doesn't matter what color you are. It really doesn't. But if you're an asshole, you're an asshole. Doesn't matter what color you are as well. And I think we sort of lose that. We figure we've got to give. It's always the people who are trying to defend people's property that are the problem. The problem is the people coming to destroy that property. Now, we have the right to protest. But we never think as we're protesting, we're interrupting somebody else's livelihood or whatever, even if we do have a peaceful protest, as you're jamming the streets. I think until law and order is really restored, then you come together and discuss problems. I see I was watching some of the Canadian parliamentary period this morning, and everybody's saying we've got to discontinue racism against Indigenous people, against blacks, against whatever. We have to amend these laws. And that is the fundamental problem. In a country, you need one law for everybody. You can't have 5, 6 different rules, sets of regulations and rules for different people, because is that not racism in itself? I mean, we're all equal. We all bleed the same as those riots are showing. Everybody who's getting hurt are bleeding the same. And I think until we get law and order and respect for that law and order, that system, you cannot have anarchy and think you're going to be okay. Of course, there's some people, that's what they like. They just want to see that. But that, folks, I just don't think. It just doesn't work. Got to ask yourself, if somebody's breaking into your house to set it on fire, are you going to use violence, or are you going to sort of hand them the matches? It's just common sense. It's total common sense. You need law and order. And in respect for that law and order, if you're part of the country, you got to get in and change things from the other end, not from the vile, crazy end. That makes no sense. No, it's people say, okay, you're privileged, you're whatever. Do you think everybody doesn't have challenges and problems? Of course they do. They really do. And I suppose it starts with our education. Our education system sucks because they're pouring crap at your ear, not getting people to think. The people who think do not behave that way. Who think for themselves. They come to solutions. They use their intelligence to sit down and discuss things. I was listening to a fellow call in, if he in Canada, this is, he's picking somebody up at the airport. They're going to be in his car for an hour. They have to go in? Does he have to go into isolation? And they say no. The people you picked up at the airport have to go into isolation. You don't have to. Now think about that. We know that you can have the virus without any symptoms, right? So you're going to sit in a car with a couple or how many people there are for an hour. They've got to go into isolation, but you don't. There's no logic there. See, this is the thing with people's arguments. They don't make any bloody sense. Totally make no sense. I'm talking about, I'm looking at all the protesters and that, cheek to cheek, jowl to jowl. Are they worrying about catching the virus? Yet some guy can't open his business because somebody might get sick. There's no logic there. There's totally no logic there. I was reading this morning on May 1st, there was a bill introduced in Congress in the U.S. Bill, you can check this out yourself, H.R. 6666, the Trace Act. And they're requesting $100 billion for this. $100 billion. And the purpose of it is to test for the virus, to track the virus, to isolate people, and to obviously get you the vaccine, force you to take the vaccine, and then track you. And I'm thinking, wow, does that sound draconian or what? And I wonder if anybody who is protesting has heard about that. They're in the States, it's their country, they should know that. May 1st, H.R. 6666. And is this a coincidence that these patents and these laws are giving that crazy number 6666? Who knows? Now, another thing I found interesting, Bobby Rush, a Democrat from Illinois, has proposed this. So I'm thinking, Bobby Rush, why is that name familiar? Well, he was one of the co-founders of the Black Panthers in the 60s. I know a fellow who was with the Black Panthers, lives in Mississippi now. So I'm going to call my friend and just refresh my memory on what the system was. As you remember, after the leader of the Panthers was killed, they decided to arm themselves and do violence. That was their mantra. I think Bobby Rush spent 6 months in jail. I think it was 6 months. Walked into a police station and while he was armed. But anyway, I bring that up now because there was a lot of problems back then as well. And there's a lot of controversy about the killing of the leader of the Black Panthers. Well, there's a lot of controversy about David Koresh, the leader who was killed by the FBI as well. And a lot of their commune burned and attacked. Maybe you don't remember that. Maybe you don't. Maybe that's not part of history that's interesting. Because they weren't black. These were white people that were burnt out. Anyway, that's about all for now. As always, I'm going to put some links to the bottom. On the bottom of this, a couple of links. And trust everyone is fine. Again, plant a garden. You don't need to have 20 acres. You can do it in very small areas. And maybe you're already doing that. I see in British Columbia they're worried about their crops because they can't get some of the migrant workers from Mexico to come and do the farm work with the vegetables and the fruit, so they think they're going to lose a whole lot. And of course, there's a lot of people unemployed in British Columbia, but they're not. They're getting paid $2,000 a month to stay home. So why would they go do hard labor in a farm? I suppose they've got applications out, but nobody is applying. This is in Victoria. I guess the Okanagan is the same. I find that interesting. Talking about the $2,000 a month, let's say our friendly government department, the revenue department, has set up a snitch line. They want people to now sort of give them tips on who they think might be double dipping, who's collecting money illegally, and blah, 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 blah. Why didn't they set up a program before they sent the money out to check on things? Now they want you to go snitch on your neighbors. I'm saying bugger off. I'm not snitching on anybody. You're that stupid to do that whole program. Another program is stupid is the 75% rent reduction for tenants where the landlord picks up the package. I'm going to do a video on that just to give you some numbers, just to show you how that actually works. Because on the surface, it looks like it's all copacetic for everybody. And I know Doug Ford stood up there and blabbered on how he's going to go after people in Ontario who don't apply for that, landlords who don't apply for that. I'll do a video on that tomorrow. But take care, bye for now, and plant a garden.